Good morning again, Algebra 2 students. For today, this is the second part of the practice formative assessment. The next question is to find the inverse of each function. Remember, to find the inverse of the function, two simple steps: switch x and y and solve for y. So in this case, I would switch the x and the y. I would solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 4. And divide by 5. And so the inverse would be x minus 4 over 5. To graph these, this function, this is a linear equation. My y-intercept would be 4 and over 1. And I'd have a line that looks like this. This one, we can do a couple different ways. We can switch those points of the original function. So instead of 0, 4, I'd have 4, 0. And instead of 1, remember I went up 5, so 1, 9, I would have the point 9, 1. And my line would look like this. Obviously a very rough graph. It is reflected over the y equals x line, which will always happen. Another way to look at this is this line is also 1/5 x minus 4/5. And if you look at the line we just drew, it does have a y-intercept of a negative 4/5 approximately, and a slope of 1/5, going up 1 over 5. Next one's a quadratic equation. This graph is a parabola moved up 4. I would go over 1 up 1, and then over 1 up 3, approximately right there. But since x is greater than or equal to 0, we would only be looking at this part of the graph. Okay, to find the inverse, we're going to switch x and y. Solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 4. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And so my inverse is the square root of x minus 4. A couple ways you can graph this. We could switch these points again, so instead of having 0, 4, we'd have 4, 0. Instead of 1, 5, I'd have 5, 1. And the graph would look like this, once again reflected over that main diagonal line. We could also think of this as the square root function, moved 4 to the right, and then we'd go over 1 up 1, over 3 up 1, over 5 up 1, and so on. Next problem, determine whether each pair of functions are inverse functions. Remember, if functions are inverses, then their composition should equal x, and it should equal x going both ways. So to show that, g of h of x means I'm going to put h of x into g. And if I do that, I'd have 3 times 1/3 x minus 5/3 plus 5. If I distribute this 3, I would have x minus 5, because the 3's cancel, plus 5. The minus 5 plus 5's would cancel, and I'm left with x, which is what I want to see happen. Must show it the other way, so now I'm going to do h of g of x. I'm going to put g of x in for h. That would be 1/3 times 3x plus 5 minus 5/3. Distributing the 1/3, that gives me x. Distributing the 1/3 gives me 5/3. and then minus 5/3. Those two cancel, and we get x. All right, hope you have a wonderful snow day. We're in a wind chill warning tomorrow, so who knows what that might bring. If you've got other things to make up, if you've got questions, feel free to contact me. Have a wonderful snow day.